Hi everyone. This time, we're going to start to implement aggregates in our SQLite connector. Like we've done before, we won't implement aggregates in their full generality. Instead, we're going to implement two types of aggregates, called star count and column count, and other aggregates like sum and max that you know from Postgres will come under the umbrella of custom aggregate functions, and we'll cover those separately in another video. If we take a look at our failing tests, we see that aggregate queries are indicated by the presence of an aggregates field in the query request body. Just like the fields property that we handled previously, each aggregate is named with a key and has a type, in this case star count. So we're going to handle aggregates very similarly to fields by building up a SQL target list from these aggregates. The NDC specification says that each aggregate should act over the same set of rows that we consider when returning rows. That is, we should apply any predicates, sorting, pagination, and so on, and then apply the aggregate functions over the resulting set of rows. So assuming that we have a function called fetchAggregates, which builds up the SQL in this way, we can fill in the aggregates in the response. Now let's start to fill in the fetchAggregates function. We'll actually copy-paste the fetchRows function and create a new function for handling aggregates. It would be possible to extract the commonality that we mentioned into a shared function, but arguably not worth it, since so much of it is extracted out into small helper functions anyway. The first difference will be in the return type. Instead of raw field value, we're going to return a value directly from the database and return a single row. So let's change the type to unknown and remove the array. Next, we want to generate the target list using the requested aggregates. So let's change that as well. Like we've done before, we will switch on the type of the aggregate. For now, we'll handle the first two cases here and save the last for when we talk about custom aggregates. In the first case, we want to generate a target list element which uses the count SQL aggregate function. In the second case, we'll also use the count function, but this time we're counting non-null values in a single column. We also need to interpret the distinct property of the aggregate object and insert the distinct keyword if needed. Now let's update our generated SQL to use the generated target list. Note that we need to form the set of rows to be aggregated first, so that the limit and offset clauses are applied correctly. We can do this with a subquery. And instead of returning all the rows, we're going to assume that we only get a single row back so that we can match on that and return the single row of aggregates. That's it. So let's test our connector one more time and hopefully this time see some passing tests. Let's also check that we're generating the right SQL. And finally, let's check our snapshots. Thanks for watching.